We're not going to be doing any planting anytime soon, but it's on our mind what our plans are for the cropping season in 2022. Alfalfa stand establishment is something that around our part of the country is very, very important. We're going to talk about that once again with our expert, Don Miller, who is Director of Product Development with Alfalfa. And Don, I guess it's time for some tips reviewing the basics in alfalfa stand establishment. What do we start with? Looking at the crop we had on the land last year, or what's your advice?
Yeah, we want to, if you are needing some more alfalfa on your farm, I think the first thing you need to look at is pick out a good variety and one that has the adequate fall dormancy and winter survival for your area and good pest resistance, Phantomyces resistance, or whatever pests are giving you a problem in the past at your location. But start out with a good variety, and then also pick the piece of ground that you're going to use. A well-drained soil has a little bit less disease problems, and so if you could do that. And then also look at the previous crop, the herbicides that you used on that previous crop. Is there any carryover that might be an issue when you're starting to plant that new field of alfalfa?
As we look at it, you mentioned a Phantomyces, and that's something that rears its ugly head. But genetics, breeding, it's improved. We don't hear so much about things like Phytophthora root rot anymore. I know it can still be there, but genetics can provide a real advantage if we take advantage and take a close look at our land, our soils, our history, and what the new genetics provide, right?
Yeah, I'm spent my whole career as an alfalfa breeder, and alfalfa has come a long ways, and that is some genetic protection that's built into that variety. And really, we've come a long way, like you said, on Phytophthora, and once we got resistance to Phytophthora, then we found out that there were some other diseases out there limiting production, and so we had to look at those. But yeah, these new varieties have a lot more advantages and protection as far as allowing more stand persistence. And so when we do come in the spring, just make sure that you do a good seed bed. We want firm seed bed. Check the pH and the fertility levels before you plant. That firm seed bed is one of the things that I really want to emphasize, because a lot of times people plant their alfalfa, they buy that seed, and then they go out there and they don't have the proper seed bed. And when you walk across that field, if it is a firm seed bed, you shouldn't sink any deeper than the soles of your shoe. We don't want to plant any deeper than a half inch. Maybe sandy soil is a little bit more leeway, but that quarter to a half inch depth, go out there and make sure you're at that depth. A lot of the complaints I get, my alfalfa didn't come up. Well, a lot of times when we check, it's just been planted too deep. So that seed bed preparation and depth of the seed is really important. And make sure you plant enough seed. Don't go light. Take that good variety and plant an adequate amount of seed, 18 to 25 pounds. A good stand of alfalfa eliminates a lot of weeds. And if you are using a drill, get those settings as narrow as possible. And if you are broadcast, you probably need 10 to 20% more seed because you're broadcasting versus drilling.
Good advice as always from our guest, the expert, Don Miller, Director of Product Development with Alfalfa. We're not going to be seeding alfalfa yet, but when you're good to go, follow Don's recommendations, and you'll have a lot better stand, and the cows and you will all be happier. Don Miller with us once again, Director of Product Development with Alfalfa.